Hi, Tommy. How's it going there today?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you very much. Congratulations on the release of the new single, Faking Love. How long was it done for before you put it out?
Actually, I had that song finished about probably a year and a half ago.
Wow. So, what was it that took so long? Was there hesitation to put yourself out there as the artist, or had you been shopping it to other artists?
Not at all. I think the idea was I'm just more of an album guy, and I think I wanted to put like a bunch of songs together. And then, we were just kind of talking forever about it, and we were just like, you know what? We just got to start. Like, let's just put out a single. Let's get it out and see how it does, and then build it off of that. And so we finally just put it out. But I've always loved it, and I was like so, anxious to get it out, like in a good way. So I couldn't wait to get it out.
Now, I naturally learned about you and your work as a result of the songwriting and producing that you did for other artists. Do you see yourself as a producer-songwriter that is becoming an artist, or have you always wanted to be the artist out front?
Well, it's funny. I've always been an artist. Before I was a producer for other people, I always produced my own stuff. And I've put out a lot of music my whole life. So I made instrumental albums all through grade school, that I would sell to, my friends at school. And then, I started just recording songs and making covers on YouTube. And like, I kind of always did the artist thing. And then, I just kind of switched over to producing just so I could get off the road and not have to travel and tour anymore. And that just opened up a whole new slew of really cool opportunities, to work with other artists and making songs for movie trailers and TV shows and stuff, which is like, my favorite thing to do. So I think I've always viewed myself as more of a musician than a producer. I just always produced my own stuff out of necessity. And then it just kind of somehow came back around where now I'm finding a way to put out stuff under my name again, with a new sound.
Well, you're being very modest there because your credits include all the major TV networks, all the major sports destinations, major movies that people have seen. So people have most likely heard your music and not realized that it's you per se. Is most of that your hustle, or do you have people that are working for you that shop the catalog around?
It's definitely a combination of both. I mean, I have an incredible team. Nothing could ever happen with just one person. So my, publisher and my licensing company, Resonate, like my publisher's Capital, licensing company is Resonate. Like they all are just crushing it. And I think I always loved making that style of music for like trailers and promos and TV stuff, but I just didn't have an outlet for it before. So, I didn't really spend a ton of time on it. And now that I have that opportunity and it's pitched and that songs are being used, that makes me want to spend more and more time doing it just because that's like my first love, So, yeah, I mean, it's that with a combination of, I've just always been super, driven to work 12, 13 hours a day, just, meeting deadlines, making as much music as I possibly can while I have this one life to do it,
What was the first cut or placement that you had where you went, okay, this is a career? Because you mentioned earlier that when you were a kid, you were actually making albums that came out. But of course, that's no different than having a paper route or a side hustle or something like that.
Yeah, honestly, the first, one of the first, I think it was the first one, was there's a Will Smith movie called Concussion. And I wrote a song with my friend Flurry. It was called Soldier. And it was like one of the very first songs I ever made for TV and film. And a couple months later, it got picked up for that movie trailer. And I remember watching it on my phone. Like the trailer came out and I watched it and I heard my song in it, like put to picture, and Will Smith of all people. Like I'm a big Will Smith fan. And I just had chills and I knew like I knew I was hooked ever since that moment. I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to do more of that. And it never gets old.
I can only imagine. When I sometimes have a pull quote of mine in a press release or something like that, I go, "Wow, that's great." Now, actually having the art of the music, that's definitely nothing more flattering than that because it lives on forever. You were associated with the success of that, and again, you've had hundreds of placements at this point, so I'm sure that feeling never gets old. But when I look at your career, you're not the first songwriter producer to kind of become the artist. The Neptunes did that, Swiss Beats, the Chainsmokers, etc. Is there somebody that you look at and go, that's how I want to do this?
Honestly, I don't think so. Like, I didn't really like see someone else do it and then decide, that I wanted to go for that. I think it just, every once in a while, I think, things just line up where it makes sense for someone to make music and put it out a certain way with other singers featuring on it, and for me, since, my sound is more cinematic, it's almost like I'm the composer, right, of a film score. Like I'm a composer and I'm using these incredible vocalist voices as like an instrument in the score that I get to play with and put in there to create the dynamics as part of the whole sound in the whole project. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I know it's an interesting, spin. I don't personally have this incredible voice, to put on these songs. And so I love collaborating. I've always loved collaborating with great singers and making big tracks, underneath them and creating something special and epic.
It's definitely hard to pigeonhole you. Is he a pop guy? Does he have an urban or hip hop slant to him? Does he have a country thing? It's not really easy to pigeonhole you, probably because you're so good at making library music and music that's going to get placed and stuff. But I haven't seen anything you've done that's metal oriented. I know that you did the Linkin Park cover and all that, but do you have a metalhead side to you?
I do not. That's one of the sides that I haven't really dabbled in.
Got it, because I never see metal going away. Sure, people say rock is dead, but it seems like in Europe there will always be the festivals as long as there's festivals, and there will always be a need for heavy music in the background of movies. It's interesting to hear that was never really a thing for you. So you never really had a Kiss or a Van Halen or a Motley Crue phase, even though that's not per se really metal?
Right. No. Yeah, I didn't really have that in my background. I think there's a lot of different kinds of music that I'll try and, see what would it look like for me to put my kind of sound or twist on different genres. You know what I mean? But yeah, I haven't really done much metal, but I do know that there's like a massive market for it and there's hardcore fans in that circle.
Well, I appreciate the honesty. A lot of people would have said, "Oh man, I should do that, shouldn't I?" And then never do that. So, bringing it back to what you said, you're not afraid of those 12 to 14-hour days in the studio. And being that everybody's kind of been quarantined or at least off their game in terms of what they were doing before March, do you just have tons and tons and tons of material sitting there that you're waiting to do something with?
Yes. The quarantine created tons of opportunity for me. Just from the standpoint of nobody came in to add new things to, the plate. I was able to kind of work on whatever I wanted for a long time, and they were projects. I have tons of projects that I have in my mind that I want to do, but I just never have time to get to all of them, And so this quarantine actually finally freed up my schedule to allow me to start some of the projects that I've been really excited about, diving into. So I've been I probably have worked harder the last 6 months than I have, any other point in the last 2 years.
I totally relate to that. I mean, you're one of 3 interviews I'm doing today. A lot of people looked at this period as, well, I'm going to watch a lot of Netflix and I'm going to get in shape. And then other people like me and you looked at this as maybe the time to step up their game and get better at their craft. So in case everything comes back, that you're elevated. It's really great to hear that work ethic is there. And that leads me to wonder, though, when you're not doing music, what do you like to do with yourself?
Well, I pretty much like going to the movies, which I haven't been able to do that in 5 months either. But I'm very indoorsy. So like if I'm not in my studio cave, I just go to a movie theater or somewhere else, some other dark room inside is usually where I like to migrate. But I like watching shows and just kind of, hanging out, I guess. I mean, I have 3 kids and my family. I mean, they keep me, really busy when I'm not working.
I can only imagine. So 2 quick questions, and then you're a free man, Tommee. And the first one is you just mentioned that you love shows and movies, and that's kind of a go-to when you're not working or with family. Any great recommendations or discoveries that you can pass along for TV or film from the past few months?
That's a good question. No, like I'm in between stuff right now. I mean, me and my wife like watching like military type dramas, like shows and movies, like SEAL Team on CBS. We love that show. We kind of, we don't really watch things live, so we catch up afterwards, right? We catch up after the fact. I watched the movie Underwater with Kristen Stewart, and it was surprisingly entertaining. Kind of thought it would be a bomb, and it was actually really interesting. Have you seen that yet?
I have not seen that one, but I've seen a lot of her work.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really know what to expect, but it was like it was a much larger scale movie than I expected. I'll put it that way.
Okay, might put that one on the list.
But I like action. I mean, I'm into action, action movies and big CGI, the Marvel movies, all that stuff. I really like that kind of stuff.
I assumed as much looking at your credits, of course. So the closer, Tommee, any last words for the kids?
I like to see people achieve their dreams, and I feel like cut down on Netflix and pour into your craft, and you won't regret it later. You'll forget about the shows you're watching now, but you won't forget, about the work that you're doing now that gets you to your dream later. I think that's pretty important.
Totally correct on that end. Really glad to see that you're practicing what you're preaching. So keep up the great work. And if you do play live in New York eventually, I hope to see you there and then.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Paltrocast.